to start to recognize how life feeds back to us the energy of trusting these choices.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Ask Julie Ryan Show. It's where we blend spirituality and practicality to help you live a life of purpose and joy. Have you ever ignored a gut feeling and later wished you hadn't? Well, my guest, Rhiannon Hines, is an intuitive channel, best-selling author, and she's an energy worker too. She's going to help us understand why intuition is never random, how it's always communicating, and what becomes possible when we finally learn to listen and take aligned action. Please remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with your family and friends. Now, let's go talk with Rhiannon. Rhiannon, welcome to the show. I'm so delighted you could join us today.
Hey, Julie, thank you so much for having me. It's really beautiful to be here.
What's the biggest misconception people have about intuition, and why does it matter?
Oh, wow. It's our birthright, Julie. It's our birthright. And so many people have this perception that it's some sort of mystical tool that's only accessible for you or me, and that others need to outsource their intuitive wisdom to someone else because it's just little old them. But the biggest misconception is it's all there, and it's actually our birthright. We haven't been thrown into this reality blind, having to navigate with it our minds alone. We have been given so many tools from the divine. We've been given the stars to navigate linear time as a construct. We've been given the moon and the sun, and we've been given this inner compass that can direct us the way to go. And we all have it. It's just that most of us have been trained and conditioned to not listen and to not trust when it's yelling at us. And yeah, if we can just allow ourselves to recognize the whispers that are already there, then our intuition starts to speak back to us 1,000,000%.
I completely agree. I'm sure people ask you as they do me, when did you realize you had your gift? And I said, I learned how to do it. Everybody's got it. So I completely agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And little children that haven't been taught, no, honey, that's just your imagination. That isn't really real. I think we see that in all these little kids, and their intuition is full blown. They don't know that they're not supposed to be seeing this stuff. They think everybody can see it, and they can until somebody shuts it off. Do you remember feeling things or seeing things as a child?
Yeah, I do. And I've got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, 2 daughters, and they are so magical, and they're so attuned, and they're so inquisitive now about death. They want to ask lots of questions about death, like, Mommy, are you going to die? Is this going to die? Is this going to end? And I feel like they're so connected to the concept of the spirit that they're asking these questions because they want me to just share back to them what I know to be true. And I always share back to them, like, one day I'm going to die, we're all going to die, but in truth, I will always be here because I'm not this body, and I'm not the mummy you think I am. I'm eternal, and so are you. Yeah, and my oldest is called Lillian. I say, you're just having a brief experience as Lillian, but you're something much, much more eternal, much greater than Lillian. And she knows exactly what I'm saying. Like, I can speak to her like this, and she agrees, like, yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember seeing things per se. I don't remember having these like profound mystical experiences as a child, but I remember I used to go out of body a lot. Like, I would just be doing these really human things, and then I would be like, who is Rhiannon? And I would feel very confused about my little self in my little bedroom, my little family home. And I would think, who is Rhiannon? And I still have this now, and it reminds me of when I was a little girl. So I don't think I was ever someone who remembers these profound psychic gifts, but I always knew I wasn't who I thought I was. I wasn't who everyone was making me believe I was. I was something much more infinite.
Why don't people trust their intuition? Even when it's clearly guiding them, when they're getting sign after sign after sign, why are people, it's almost like they're afraid to trust their intuition. Is it because we've had drummed into us that it has to make logical sense in order for something to be real?
Yeah, and I think it's also way deeper than that as well, Julie, because I think in order for us to just trust our intuition every step of the way, the life that we are being guided upon is so exquisite. It's so phenomenal that it's going to ask us to confront every single hidden fear, every single unresolved aspect of unworthiness. Following our intuition asks us to do the complete inner work, right? To step up, like for you, Julie, sitting here with this beautiful show, everything you've created in your life, like you've followed your intuition every step of the way, but you've also had to do the inner work, right? Because it's to do what we're guided to do, we have to leap into fear. We have to trust that we're going to be held. We have to expand into courage. And I think it's very easy for most of us to get a deck of tarot cards or a pendulum and to start playing with the mystical, right? But as soon as Spirit says to us, now you've got to leap. Now you've got to leap out that relationship, leap out that job, and you've got to trust that we're going to catch you. That's where people stop listening, because it brings up the fear. And the deepest fear I feel that it brings up is that I am not held and loved by the divine. So when we let go of that fear, when we process that fear by alchemizing our abandonment wounds, our rejection, our hurts and our traumas, when we do all of that work, then we are anchored in love. And love trusts. Love trusts. So when the divine says leap, we say, okay, I'm going to leap because I trust the miracle that's waiting.
Beautiful. Why do people think that they aren't loved by the divine? Have they had too many instances where they've been told you're a sinner and you have to repent and that kind of thing? Or does it go deeper than that?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty deep to begin with.
Pretty deep.
Yeah, really. After I said that, I thought, well, that's pretty deep.
That's pretty deep. Well, there's that program for sure, like from the church and through religion. But also this reality that we are experiencing, this dreamscape with the trees and the buildings and the people, it's all a mirror of our own self. It's all mirroring back to us our frequency. And as souls, we come in with what we come in with, And for some souls, we come in heavy. Some souls come in heavy. And their world mirrors back to them what they're holding and what they've come in with. And so what their reality is mirroring back to them is that the divine, that the creation isn't love. Because maybe a child comes into abusive parents, maybe a child comes into a war-torn country, and the mirror, the holographic mirror says creation isn't built in the name of love. And so the hard thing about that is the inner work has to kick off first, to find love and love and love within. And then the holographic reality starts to reflect something different back. So some of us come in karmically blessed, right? Where we come in and the mirror is love. And then that mirror brings up within us anything that isn't love. And we just keep expanding and expanding into a higher frequency.
When somebody comes in heavy, I've never heard it put that way, but I love it. It's a great descriptive way to talk about spirits and what we choose, I believe, before we incarnate. And then that puts our life on a trajectory for us to be able to explore and experience and create from that platform from which we jump. why is it that when we change how we feel inside, you've referenced a mirror several times, that reflection, in your words, changes? How does that work?
Wow. None of this is as real as we think it is. Like, we think it's so real. We look at everything around us as though it's so definite. We look at ourselves as though it's so definite. But this is a dreamscape. This is a dreamscape. People are arguing over whether the earth is flat or round. What about if the earth doesn't even really exist beyond the holographic mirror of our own perception? You know? And for whatever reason, creation birthed this dreamscape and individualized souls. For souls to have their own unique experience of forgetting their eternal nature so that they could remember their eternal nature. So some of us are on the journey of forgetting, and then some of us are on the journey of remembering. But all souls come in or have this lifetimes long journey of forgetting and then remembering. So depending on where we are in that journey, we're going to perceive the world, the dreamscape, very, very differently. So once we remember the dream, what we see and what we recognize is that I'm a soul having a fleeting experience, and that my soul isn't even who I am. My soul is just individualized consciousness of the one, of the divine. And therefore, when I see you, Julie, and I see your soul, and I recognize mirrored back to me that we are the one, then I am free and you are free, and we get to go outside and recognize that mirror of love and divinity in every single person around us. But when some souls are in the place of their journey where they've just forgotten that simple truth, then they come in guided by the divine, guided by their intuition to trigger this path of remembering, to go all the way home to that simple realization. So it's just where we are in the stage of the journey. There's no right or wrong. There's no journey that's more divine or less divine. But sometimes we have to feel the agony of separation to know the bliss of the oneness.
Okay. How'd you get so wise so fast? You look like you're about 20. For those of you that are listening, I mean, I know you're older than that, but oh my goodness, girl, that was profound. I concur on everything, and I'm probably old enough. I don't know that I'm old enough to be your grandmother, but certainly,
Why not?
certainly your mother. And I'm thinking, okay, she looks like she's 20 and she talks like she's 70. Goodness, do you come from a spiritual family? Where did you just have lots of encouragement as you were experiencing these big questions as a small child?
Well, thank you so much, Julie, anyway, for your kind words. And I'm definitely not 20, but I appreciate the whatever the camera's doing. I'm 34.
Okay,
But,
that's still pretty young.
Yeah.
To be a wise woman at 34, and age is irrelevant, I know, but yeah, you're impressive already, and I've just been talking to you for about 10 minutes. So go ahead, tell us about your family and growing up.
Thank you for seeing me. That's make me cry. I had a beautiful upbringing, I had a beautiful upbringing, but I also got to experience my mum go through like a catalytic awakening when I was about 17. So for anyone that's Australian, I know I don't sound Australian. And for anyone that's English, I know I don't sound English. But my family lived in London, and like very working class, like very I hate that term, but it's very true in London. You know, they had to work hard to survive, and it was still like even though they've always been kind and full of love and full of support, it was still very normal matrix existence of the jobs and go to school, get a good job, and let's watch TV when we get home and go do these social things on the weekend. But then when I was 17, my mom had all these like lumps in her breast, and she told me, and she never used the word cancer, because she said, I'm going to choose to not identify with that word, Rhiannon, because I'm going to choose to just change my life and be the most vibrant person that I can be. And I just wanted to tell you that I'm going to do things really, really differently. And yeah, I'm just letting you know. So my programmed self like cried because of the stories about this is what this means. But I just watched my beautiful mum print pictures with the text "I am love" all around the house. She went raw vegan. She stopped drinking. She started meditating. She started crying a lot. Oh my gosh, I was like, why is my mum crying so much? Crying in the car, crying all the time, listening to these mantras, and she was healing, and she started doing yoga. And anyway, about 5 months later, my mum looked different. So I have old mum and new mum, because she was always slim, but she became just like, she had no excess fat. She looked so incredible. This is when maybe she was about 40. And she became lighter, and she changed, and then she became a natural health practitioner. So that moment in my mum did something to me, because I saw her vitality and I saw her mind, and what my mum did at that time changed a lot in my family. Like now that my mum and dad are both very awake and committed to their path. My dad in a different way, but still he is. And my younger brother, he also had a big awakening. So I come from a loving family, and more beautiful still is I got to witness the contrast of a family who's blinkered by the illusion, and that transforming to a family who's like open and choosing love and truth.
How's your mom today?
She's so good.
Good for her.
Yeah.
And she was able to heal the cancer without the traditional medical interventions?
Fully.
Wow. Good.
I mean, she never got the hardcore diagnosis, but there were these rock solid like masses in her breast that shrunk week by week.
Wonderful. What are the Akashic records, and why were you pulled towards working with them?
This is just one term, you know. It's one term you can call this whatever you want. It's the field of infinite wisdom that we all have access to. Because when we remember the true nature of who we are, which is souls, which is souls are individualized consciousness of the one, individualized consciousness of the divine, of God. So when we remember ourselves as souls, then we can also remember ourselves as individualized consciousness of the one, and we remember the one. And what I mean by that is that there is no such thing as linear time, past, future. There isn't even such a thing as past lives in the linear sense where it happened in the past, because that hooks us into linear time, right?
Right.
Past and future lives, it's all the one. And it's all of the now. It's all of the now, because this now moment is all that there is. It's this infinite realm where we can choose to dial in to different frequencies like a radio station and have this experience now. But when we remember this true eternal nature of time, of space, it's all here now. It's all here now. Our ancestors are here now. our past lives, our future lives, they're aspects of us now, like parallel realities. And therefore, whatever wisdom that we want to access or need to access, it's available to us now. But only when we're not in the mind, the thinking mind, the analytical mind, because the analytical mind is the one that interprets the information of the hologram, of the physical. And this analytical mind is what makes us perceive this to be so real. So when we're perceiving this to be so real, it's hard to experience what I just described as the truth. But when we breathe into here, our eternal hearts, then what we access is our true nature, which is love. All aspects of the divine, loving awareness, having a human experience. And when we go into this realm of love, we can dial in to any frequency. We can dial in to multidimensional beings. Why? Because they're not out there in space. They're here now. Just a different tuning of the radio station away. We can tap into a past life, something that we perceive to be of a time and linear time that we perceive to be in the past. We can tap into that now. Why? Because it's not really separate from us in linear time. It's here now. So the Akashic records, if you choose to call it that, is the field of all-knowing wisdom that we can all access when we remember in a single moment our eternal true nature.
Are you saying that we live multiple lifetimes concurrently? All of our lifetimes concurrently, or just some of them?
It's all concurrent, everything, because it's a dream. It's a dream, and we're dreaming this moment as the perceived real moment, because this is the moment that our soul needs the most in order to learn and grow and remember its true nature. So this perceived reality is the most potent reality that our soul can have for its growth and evolution, so it feels most real. But this is the next stage, I feel, of humanity's awakening, right? We've been on this journey of connecting to our spirit selves, connecting to angel frequencies, connecting to our ancestors, connecting to galactic beings, but connecting to past lives. But we're actually here at this very pivotal moment of humanity's consciousness where we're about to access our true power. And our true power comes in the knowing that there is no separation from time and space. Even the program that we've been fed about galactic beings existing out there in space separates us. This is a distorted program fed to us consciously to keep us separate from our power. Because if we perceive galactic beings to be separated by, they actually call it space, it's hilarious, separated by space, then we can't access them, we're separate. But all of it is here now, vibrationally. Everything is vibration. And we are all vibrating at this reality, sharing this moment of this call together, your listeners, tuning into this dial, this frequency. You and I vibrating at the one, Julie, sharing this moment. And after this call ends for us, we no longer vibrate here. You go off and have your life, and I go off and have my life. And the listeners who could listen to this episode in 2 years are dialing into this frequency that we no longer even have any resonance with because we're somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And yet this feels true and real and current to whoever listens it in perceived linear time. And as human beings, as we get this peace, we stop fighting over trivialities. We stop fighting over, is the earth flat or round? We stop fighting over things that are separate to us, and we just be fully here now on our own paths, in our own frequency, just anchoring in love, anchoring in love. And as every person coexisting just stays on their path, anchoring in love, then we're going to collectively birth something very, very beautiful, which is a world built upon love. And that only comes when we stop obsessing around separation in physical space and time.
That's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was beautifully explained, but let's dial down into it for a couple of minutes. Let's say somebody has a lot of pain and they've been dealing with it for years, and their doctors are suggesting that they have surgery. If we're living multiple lifetimes concurrently, can that person shift into a different timeline during that surgery and then post-op to not go through the pain? Can they go back and forth between different lifetimes? Or is it that, no, you go through the surgery and the pain because that's what you want to experience in this lifetime? How does that work?
So this soul journey that we're having as a single lifetime is the experience that our soul most needs in order to learn and grow and evolve. As a consciousness, we aren't here yet. What I'm describing, where we are not bound by linear time, as a collective, we're not there yet. Like what you just said, it's a lot to unpack. So we are still experiencing separated lifetimes. We're still experiencing linear time because that's where our souls are. And I do feel that as a collective humanity, we can get to the point where we're no longer bound by linear time and we're living the eternal now. But in order to get to that moment, we have to karmically shed, heal, and let go and release. And how we do that is by experiencing and feeling everything within our being that isn't love. In order to be anchored in love, we have to release anything that isn't love.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a collective of souls present here at this time, 2025, we're still experiencing individualized lifetimes. We're still experiencing individualized incarnation. But collectively, I feel that we will ascend past that and we will live as higher dimensional beings that are more waveform in nature because we're not identified with this incarnation and this reality. But for now, here we are, right? Experiencing a single lifetime. You're Julie, I'm Rhiannon, here we are, right? 2025.
Do you think you'll experience that in your lifetime or I will in my lifetime?
I think you and I will, and many of your listeners will experience the very palpable pulse of linear time holding very little significance as a transition energy. And I think we are already there to some degree, you know.
When did you realize you weren't just learning spirituality, but you were actively channeling and receiving higher intelligence?
It wasn't that long ago, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't long ago at all. It was maybe when my oldest daughter, who's nearly 7, maybe when she was a baby. So when she was first born, my husband was working away. So in Australia, this is really common. We call it FIFO, because fly in, fly out. Because there's so many mines in Australia, a lot of people fly and do a week at this mine site and then fly home and do a week at home. So it's not really a life that I would recommend for anyone because we call it the golden handcuffs, right? Because the money is so good, but then you get stuck.
Yeah.
But when Scott was away, I would feel very lonely with my new baby, like very isolated and quite sad. And then I'd put the baby to bed, Lillian, and then I would just sit and just connect. I just connect, because when I was connecting through my heart, and I would just always say, I call upon my highest and brightest guides to be with me now. I would always just say that, and that was like a remedy for my loneliness. And then I started automatic writing. So I would get into that state of being in my heart, relaxing. I call upon my highest and brightest guides. And then I would just start writing like pages and pages of scribble. And then I would reread it, and it would sound like this beautiful voice talking to me, like, Rhiannon, don't worry, this time will pass, blah, blah, blah. This beautiful voice of guidance and love.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to keep practicing this automated, what do you call that?
Automatic writing.
Writing, yeah.
Yeah.
I kept practicing that, and then I started to do it with an intention that was beyond myself. So rather than there, Rhiannon, I started to get messages that were more for the collective, more for the earth, for the time. Mm-hmm. And it was the power of the practice, which was to be in my heart and call upon a divine guidance, combined with an intention, started to bring through these really pivotal messages. And this is when I started to, about a year or 2 years after that, that's when I channeled my first book, which is called The Keepers of the Light Codes. And that's when I really realized that, hang on a minute, we can really bring through messages that have the power to change perspectives around the world.
Speaking of automatic writing, I know that's one form of accessing our intuition and our guides. How does intuition and how do the guides most commonly communicate with you? Does it come in thoughts, feelings, sensations, visuals, symbols?
Yeah, well, for me now, it's all of that.
Me too.
But it's everything. But I'm sure maybe, Julie, you agree, like at the start, it was one more than the other.
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, they just start to activate because when we listen, we get more. When we pay attention, more comes on. So everyone can access all of these, but when you're not listening to any of it, I feel like your guidance system gives you the one that you're most likely to listen to, and just keeps knocking on the door with that. So for some people, they keep getting these spirit animals appear, the sacred bird that they love at the moment, or the song comes on the radio, or the 1111 on the car radio. And all of these things just start speaking, but it's the one that we pay attention to that dials in most. So it was the automatic writing, and then from that I got this really clairaudient channel. And clairaudient means to hear, but let me just clarify for anyone listening. It's not the sound of God, like, hello, Rhiannon, separate to our own, because when we're waiting for that, you're going to be waiting a long time.
Rhiannon, this is God speaking to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like James Earl Jones or
right.
Yeah. Morgan Freeman.
That's the misconception, because people are waiting for something big, because we're so used to Netflix and these big, but it's all subtle, and it's like subtle. It's the whisper of your higher mind, like the crystal clear thought form that comes in when we're anchored in our heart. And that was what I got next. And then, because I was so deep in my work as a healer, it was just like I could feel what people were feeling. I just knew what was in their body. And then the more I started to work in these sort of shamanic healing spaces, that's when I really started to see, but not like a movie screen. You really got to pay attention,
You say, quote, repeating patterns are intelligence, not punishment, end quote. How can we use frustration constructively?
Let me give you a really simple, tangible example of my life where I was repeating a very subtle pattern. And it was my awareness that shifted this cycle and created a new reality. So like you, Julie, like I like to create in my business, like I've got this little entrepreneurial hat that likes to birth things and put it out there and create, and it's fun for me to do that. And this year, the start of this year, I was creating a lot. I was like constantly birthing things like new programs, new landing pages, new this, new that. And I was constantly birthing things. And I think it's because I moved away. I did so many retreats last year, and this year is doing something different, which is like more online, more pulled back, more hermit. And so I was constantly launching things and birthing things. And they weren't like taking off with the same momentum that I've become accustomed to. They weren't like exploding with a bang every time I put something out there. Normally, I've become accustomed to it, like a good momentum. But that I wasn't getting that same feedback from what I was putting out there. So I put something else out there, and I put something else out there. And something said to me, like, what keeps putting things out there? Is it love, or is there something else there? And it's like, okay, what would love do in this moment? What would love do in this moment? I put something out there, it didn't get much feedback. What does love do? Love doesn't want to launch anything else. Love wants to rest and hang out with my children. But my fear says, but what about money? But are you enough? What about all the people that could buy your program? But love says, there's no hurry. Love says, I don't want to do anything right now. So what I was doing is I was in a repeated pattern. I was cycling through a pattern of birthing something, a business idea from fear, it not getting a good response. More fear trigger within my body, birthing something new from that fear, it not getting a good response. And I was in this cycle going round and round. And I recognized the cycle just with my awareness, and our awareness is often enough to break these cycles, to recognize the fear response. And then I just asked, okay, well, what would love do? And love, literally, my truth was, I don't care about launching anything right now. And when I let that go, for about a month, I was just in the nothingness of just being and walking and hanging with my kids. And then all of a sudden, I wrote a book. I had just this wave of inspiration to write a book. And I was so inspired, and it flowed through me so creatively. It was so amazing.
Is there a way for us to test our intuition and build real trust with it? Do you have a methodology that you teach your clients and your students to say, okay, here's how you trust that your intuition's really on target?
Yeah, well, I often feel that trusting our intuition is pretty easy when it comes to the healing space. So in my work that I teach is intuitive rebirth. It's like a psychic trauma release, deep healing method that we follow our divine knowing to access the body, to just everything that I've described, letting go of the fear and anchoring in love, and using a very psychic framework to do that. So trusting in that way as a practitioner, which is what I teach, is actually pretty easy, because when you're in that moment and you're flowing, you're kind of just feeding off the moment, and the moment is so exquisite that all you have to do is be in your heart and just let go. But following our intuition in our life, the stakes are higher. The stakes are higher when we're investing money, selling houses, leaving relationships, moving countries. It's like the stakes are higher, and trusting our intuition is harder, because it's like, well, if I don't trust my intuition in the session, maybe the session isn't going to flow. But if I don't trust my intuition in life, like, what's my greatest fear? I could lose everything. I could go the wrong way. So I always guide that the greatest way to start to master trust in your intuition in your life is to do it with very subtle things. Okay, so it's like, well, what do I want to wear today? What do I want to wear today? Like, I really had this strong desire to wear these earrings and this top. It was just an energy that this felt true to this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I wore it. So if I hadn't have worn this, what frequency would have been different, you know? So I've worn this and I feel that it's aligned with the frequency that I'm in. This is such a small thing, right? Or I always drink coffee in the morning and coffee's starting to make you feel tired. I'm using this example because this is me. Coffee's starting to make you feel tired. So as my body says, I need to stop drinking coffee. And if you keep drinking coffee, you get more and more tired. You stop drinking coffee and it's like, I was right. So it's like, let's start to listen to our bodies with the simple things. What does your body want to eat? When does your body want to go to sleep? Your body said to stop binge watching that series because it's full of violence and it's affecting your dreams. So I'm going to stop watching that series before I go to sleep. And so if we listen to this kind of very small things for our life, we get better at listening to the big things. So what about if you're dropping your kids to school and there's 2 routes that you can go to? Open your heart. Which route do I feel like going? I'm at this roundabout. I could go straight and get there. I could go right. Which way do I want to go? I'm going to go right today. I'm going to take a new journey, you know. And if we start to do this, we're going to start to recognize how life feeds back to us the energy of trusting these choices. And the most simple way to get this feedback is to come out of the mind. And the easiest way to come out of the mind is to anchor with presence and intention into the heart. So as you're listening to this, and as we're talking, Julie, this is it. It's like, become aware of your chest. So just become aware of the chest area. It's like, let your awareness sink down into the chest area. And then in the same way we can draw in air through our nostrils and our mouth, can you draw in air? Imagine you're drawing in air through these little nostrils of your chest. Okay, now you're breathing with your heart. Now can you exaggerate that? And not just the nostrils, but it's like, can you take in air 360 degrees all the way around, in and out? And then starting to anchor into this heart energy and ask of your heart. Your heart is the divine. Your heart is your higher self. What shall I wear today? What shall I eat for dinner? What way shall I drive? Should I quit my job? You know, should I quit my job? Should I move interstate? And you might get the whisper that says yes. You might get the little goosebumps of energy that says yes. You might get this little knowing of excitement that says yes. But whatever it is, so you might get the sudden willy wagtail land on your windowsill that says yes. Whatever the sign is, that's your hologram speaking back to you because you've taken the time to stop attaching to it from the mind and start feeling the true essence of it through the heart. And then you only need to experience one subtle miracle from following the yes to know that you're on the right path and you have that gratitude. So I've worn these earrings and this top today. Thank you for that. Thank you for that insight. It feels really good. You know, I left the job and now I've got this new opportunity. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's like gratitude keeps priming the wheel. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude.
Which is a super high vibration.
Yeah.
Yeah. Couple of questions as we're winding down here. A couple more questions. Do your guides have a message for us?
Probably. So I call forth my highest and brightest guides. And I ask that thy will, the highest will, be done. As we close the year that you perceive to be 2025 and step into a new beginning, a new chapter, 2026, do it so anchored in your infinite true nature. Don't look at the 12-month calendar as a prison where you must achieve and accomplish, set goals. Look beyond it, see the true eternal nature of who you are. What does your soul long to experience? What does your soul long to experience in this incarnation? What dreams, what ideals, what miracles does your soul long to merge with in this realm of physicality? Hold that as your goal, hold that as your vision. And don't judge it. Don't judge what your soul longs to experience in this realm of physicality, whether it's material, whether it's wealth, whether it's money. Do not judge, because you're here in this realm of physicality to have a physical experience. So ask your soul, what do I long to experience in this incarnation? And if you see something, if you feel something that excites you beyond measure, a house, a job, an opportunity, a way of serving, a relationship, a community, have no limits. Take this vision and let it marinate through your whole body, because this is what you came here to experience, not just to heal and grow and cycle through lessons, but to experience the full frequency of pleasure and love mirror back to you in your realm of physicality. So let these visions come in and dissolve your concept of linear time and allow that frequency to be with you now, trusting that this incarnation is the incarnation where you experience divinity mirror back to you in a single moment in your holographic reality of physicality. Oh.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Last question. Why do we incarnate?
To burn karma, to learn lessons, to experience heaven on earth.
Beautiful. As I mentioned early in our conversation, you're very wise. Everything that you've talked about, I think, I believe will resonate with a lot of people who are going to hear this conversation and will serve them in a multitude of ways. It's going to be fun to see how it affects different people at different times and in different ways. Some of that's going to be predicated on when they listen to this episode. And I trust that everybody hears what they need to hear when they need to hear it. And it's all divinely timed. How can people learn more about you and your work?
Yeah, thanks so much, Julie. I've loved speaking with you in your beautiful way and your beautiful energy, and I really appreciate everything you're doing. And so if you come over to rhiannonhines.net, and I have a new book which you can get on pre-order now. It's releasing in March. It's called Story of Soul. It's the book that I described that came through me when I was anchored in love. And it's somewhere in between fiction and non-fiction, because I think we need to sort of dance on the edge of fiction in order for our bodies to understand the true dreamlike nature of this reality. So it's very fun. So you can get your pre-release copy of Story of Soul on my website, rhiannonhines.net, or you can follow me on Instagram.
Terrific. We will have all of that information in the show notes. Okay, everybody. In the meantime, we're sending you lots of love from Sweet Home, Alabama. Mwah! And from Australia, too, where Rhiannon is. We'll see you next time. To enhance your spiritual journey, Click on one of the videos below and remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with your family and friends.